Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tipper's Den. My name is Whitney, and it is time for another Monday Musings. Kind of had an okay week. Definitely didn't get read what I wanted to, but still had a pretty good reading week overall, so I'm very happy with that. I'm still, of course, participating in the tarot readathon, and I have not yet done my tarot pull for today. So again, if you haven't been following along, this is the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitani. Absolutely love this deck. It's based on different fairy tale, folklores, and mythology from around the world. So let's go ahead and see what I pulled today. Yesterday, I had a repeat for the first time. I pulled the same card I pulled on the very first day, which was the Ace of Wands, and it's based on a Chinese folktale, The Magic Paintbrush. So that was pretty interesting. So again, all I do is kind of just shuffle along until either one card sticks in my hand or one falls out, whatever the case may be. I also had my first reverse card this past week as well, which all of them have not been reversed at all. There's not very many that are reversed in here. Oh, that one. But there are some that have gotten flipped around. Ooh, this is a pretty one. So this is the Star. And let's see what it is based on. Let's see. Justice. Here we go. So we have the star right here. A little booklet. So this is Sister. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. It looks like a Russian name, and it is. And Brother Ivanushka. And it's Russian fairy tale. The star is a symbol of hope after a disaster, the need to remain positive after misfortune, to remember that things can get better again. It is staying calm and open to future possibilities, seeing your situation with open eyes, mind, and heart. Upright, which it was upright, means hope, serenity, inspiration, insight, and spirituality. So I'll definitely have a think on what that means to me. And yeah, I really like that one. So there is my poll for today. Now let's go ahead and talk about the book. So I did do my roll for reading this past week, and it was an audiobook, but when I roll for locations and such, so I couldn't just like put in the audiobook and do chores or anything. I had to sit, so I decided to do some knitting, and I haven't knitted probably since we moved in here, which has been like 8 years now. I haven't knitted at all, and so I found an old knitting project, and I started knitting it. I did end up taking it completely out because it had been so long since I knitted. I completely undid it and then restarted it. So it was probably about like this long from whatever I did way back when. And so I did a few rows just to get back into the rhythm of things. And then I completely took it out and started it again. And I probably got to here during Roll for Reads. And so you can see I've been knitting as well this past weekend. And so that took away from reading, obviously, because I was knitting and been really enjoying that. So that's definitely a hobby I want to continue to do. I want to eventually do like a 5-star reading blanket, but I just want to complete this. Yellow is my grandma's favorite color, so I think I might have been trying to make her something at one time. And so I might see if I can make it by Christmas. That will be a Christmas present for her. We'll just have to see. So that's taken away from my reading, obviously. And then Friday, my husband had a work truck he needed to pick up. So he hitched a ride to the bigger city with his mom. And then I had to go down later to pick him up. And we went and did a Savers trip. I got some clothes and some books that I don't need, but here we are. So that was nice. And we went to lunch and then we grabbed dinner as well. So it was kind of like a full on like afternoon. I guess, and we had lunch at this little ramen place that is so good. And then we got Chinese food for dinner to bring home, which was also really good. And I was practicing using my chopsticks because I'm not good at using chopsticks. So that was fun, but obviously, I think I read 9 pages that day because I started to read in the morning and then I was really sleepy, so I ended up taking a nap before I headed down. So I only read 9 pages that day. And then this weekend's kind of been like more knitting, watching the show Heartland. I love that show. It's based on this book series, which is very special to me. And so I've been watching that. I'm almost done with season 2 now while I was knitting. And so reading has just kind of, been slow. But I did finish some books. So the first book I finished was The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. I was really nervous for this one, and it was for, I forget which card. Let me get my notes here. Move the tarot deck. So this one was for Eight of Swords, which is a book that intimidates you. And this one intimidated me because I had read The Time Machine. I think I read that one for Aurelium and really struggled to get through it. I had also read Dr. Moreau, The Island of Dr. Moreau before and loved that one. But when I read The Time Machine, it's super short, but I really struggled to get through that. So I was nervous about this one. I did enjoy this for the most part. I didn't love it as much as The Island of Dr. Moreau, but I didn't struggle to get through it like with the other one. I can't remember. I think I gave it 4 stars, maybe 3. I can't quite remember at this point, but I did enjoy it. So we're following this invisible man, um, and he ends up coming to this town, and then it's kind of the journey as people discover, that he's invisible, and they're shocked, and then kind of his as he devolves like into madness and such. And so I did enjoy it. I liked how the author, so we're following him in this town, and then in the middle you go back and get the story of how he became invisible. And I liked how he kind of broke that up, but that middle part was a little bit over my head as far as like some of the science stuff. And it did drag a little bit at that point for me. But then once it got kind of back to present day, like I really enjoyed it. So I did I was intimidated by it, but I'm glad I did end up reading it because, like I said, I liked it. It wasn't a struggle like The Time Machine was. I don't know what it was about that book. I also actually finished Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. So this was a rollover from June, or May rather. It is June. This was a rollover, and I've been slowly reading it, and I did finish it. I ended up, I think this one I did give a 3 star. The way, so everybody, I like the overall idea of this, the premise of it. You have this old man and he ends up in this town, and there's this local artist who has been doing portraits of people, and they're hanging up in this local coffee shop. So he starts buying these portraits and gifting them to the people thereof. And he's making friendships and connection. And I like the idea of like everybody has a story, and I like the idea of him buying these and giving them to these people. And there's kind of a mystery with Theo. You don't know why he's there, who he is. And I liked how the author played that out, like what the connection was, why he was in this town. I really loved that. My problem with this was everybody has a story, and oftentimes that includes sadness and tragedy and such. But when he would talk about that, like there's almost like this rose colored tint to it, you know? And so I don't think he really captured like the heartbreak and the depth of this tragedy. There was one person in particular, and that whole story part. So, one, his little girl is in the hospital. And so at one point, Theo goes and visits her at night in this hospital, and the dad's watching, like he works as a custodian, so he's watching on this camera. But I'm like, I don't care who this man is, how kind he is, that you don't get bad vibes or anything. Like, that is not appropriate. So that just kind of like gave me the ick. That whole situation with that as well, the way it played out, I it wasn't realistic. Like, I liked the message that was there, but it wasn't realistic. And so I didn't enjoy that. And then the whole way it ends with Theo, I didn't like that at all. Like, again, it could have, like, the premise and the situation was there, but the way he executed it didn't really work. And so I did not enjoy that part at all. But I like the aftermath there and like the reveals there. I really loved that. So ended up going 3 stars with this. It is one though, like even though I didn't fully love it, I do like the story a lot and it will definitely stay on my shelves. So there's that. And that one we had been working on for a couple weeks along with The Final Target by Nora Roberts. So this is one I was reading with my husband. We always read the new Nora Roberts releases together. And so this one we're following Arden, and she is an author, and this guy keeps showing up to her signings and starts stalking her. And then something happens, and so definitely trigger warnings. Like I don't recall, like there's definitely some dark themes in some of her books, but I don't recall it this like detailed, and it's not super detailed. Like but it is like put on page, like the assault and so SA and R like are on page here, which I don't recall the author really doing that before. Even when there has been situations like she kind of words things away where it's not like as obvious, where in this one it's very plainly written. So it does definitely deal with those things and it's a little darker. But trigger warning for that if you're interested in this. So Arden, she's dealing with this guy, and then it is a romance, so she goes and she's trying to heal and she meets somebody. And I really like the Gideon, the love interest in here. I really liked him as a character. The middle part, so her books tend to follow the same format, so there's 3 parts. And so part 2, it does kind of lag quite a bit. And some of the like thoughts of the characters, it's like surely you're not that unintelligent. Like surely not. But yeah, for the most part, I actually really enjoyed this one, which was a relief because I've been struggling with her most recent book she's been putting out. But for the most part, I did enjoy that, even though it lagged a little bit in the middle there. And I liked how it played out a lot. Like, a lot of authors would have gone kind of a different route. And in this case, I really liked what she did with how it played out. And so, yeah, overall, I had a good time with this. My husband more just kind of humors me with the Nora Roberts books, but we did get that one finished as well. And then this was my book for Roll for Reads, Dead Voices by Katherine Arden, middle grade horror. And this is the second book following Small Spaces, which I really enjoyed. And so we're following our 3 friends, which was nice because it worked. This weekly challenge prompt was to read a book featuring friendship, and this definitely worked for that. So we're following Coco, Ollie, and Brian, and they're at this remote, secluded resort. There's a big snowstorm, so they get snowed in, and the power's out and such. And there's this guy that shows up that says he's a journalist who's a ghost hunter, and that's where it kind of like lost me. I love the vibes of this. I like the story, but like the way you have Ollie's dad and Coco's mom are on the trip with them, and the way they're just like, oh, go ghost hunting with this random strange dude that just showed up while we're, trying to repair the generator or whatnot. I'm all, no, no. And I didn't like that. Again, not very realistic, and I don't think it's a good message. Like, I get a lot of times in middle grades and such, like, the role of the parents isn't very realistic. But in this case, like, I just really did not like that. And then they also use a Ouija board, which I didn't like. I don't know, because I do believe in that kind of thing, and I don't think Ouija boards are very safe, especially if not used correctly. So, like, to me, like, putting that in a middle grade book, I just didn't like it at all. Like, I could get down with the ghost and the trauma from the ghost and such, but I don't know, I just didn't like the Ouija board. But for the most part, I did really enjoy this. I also didn't like we're going back and forth following Ollie and Coco, but we never follow Brian. And at one point, they're all three split up, and it's just kind of weird that we're only following the girls and not Brian. That felt kind of off balance because, like, yeah, you get told what happened, why he was separate, but you're not following it. And I think that would have been better if she included that as well. But I really do enjoy the series. There's two more, Dark Waters and Empty Smiles, which I definitely plan on continuing. Probably will try to pick up Dark Waters in October for spooky season, but we'll just have to see. I did start The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This one, I'm not quite halfway. I've read 210 pages. I have 270 pages left to go. I am really, really enjoying this. The only thing with this one is I'm struggling to kind of follow along at some points because you're jumping around between timelines and between characters, which she does put like the time, like the location and the locations too, the location and the year like at the chapter heading, but it's still kind of hard for me to follow. But for the most part, it's about Marco and Celia, and been they're part of this competition. And so Celia's dad, like, it's kind of a competition between these two men. So Celia's dad's like, she's talented, like, let's play our game. And then the other guy recruits Marco from, like, I'm assuming like a boys' school orphanage situation. And then they've been practicing for years, and like the kind of venue is the circus for the actual games. And you don't really understand, and the characters don't really understand like the rules of the games either. They're just trying, to one up each other. And yeah, really enjoying it so far. I like the whimsy, I like the circus, I like the characters so far. And I'm going to continue to enjoy this. I probably won't get much read today because today is a computer day. But I'm hoping I can finish this up, like read a little bit tonight and finish it up tomorrow so I can move on. But I really am loving that. There's that one, like I said, just under a halfway mark. And then my husband, because we finished Final Target, my husband and I did start Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. This is the like a standalone. Not loving it as much as the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Definitely similar, like kind of like vibes as far as like the writing and such. Obviously, same author, but I don't think the characters are as engaging, or like the premise and the setup is as engaging. So at this point, we're I think 85 pages in, and we're just like learning. Like our main character Oliver has learned about, because he didn't believe, like everybody's been talking about how like something's gonna happen and he hasn't really believed it. So the whole premise is they came over on generation ships to this planet to set up shop there basically. And now Earth is trying to evict them from this planet so they can take over. And so he didn't really believe that, but now like things are happening, and so now he's like, oh shoot, this is real, and so they're deciding like they want to fight basically, and so yeah, we're just kind of got the setup so far, and we'll see how it goes, but definitely not loving it. Like Dungeon Crawler Carl from the first instant had me hooked. For this one's, it's taking a little bit, which is what I was worried about reading this. But I do love the colors. Like, I absolutely love the orange on this book. But yeah, just not quite hitting the mark, but I am enjoying it. Like, I love the author's writing, the humor and such. So that means I did not get to Kingdom of the Cursed at all by Kerri Maniscalco. So definitely want to pick that one up this week. And my family's book club, Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. And this one does not work for Tarot Readathon at all. It might work. The weekly challenge this week, we got The Page of Wands, which is a book picked up or you wanted to read because of the cover. And this definitely went on I picked it up because of the story, like, interests me, but this cover is definitely why it went on this month's TBR, because I got, like, favorite color and such, and I absolutely love this cover. So it would work for that. So if I read it this week, I can at least get that. But I do need to prioritize it because it is a family book club book. So I definitely want to read that book. And then I had hoped to finish those and then read the last books this week, but obviously I didn't finish those two, so I still have another week and a couple days after this week, so it's not a huge deal. But I do want to read Big Girl Blitz by Danielle Allen this week. I'm hoping to get to that. And I forgot to say, so Kingdom of the Wicked was Nine of Swords, but it was in the second position, so I went. You could go plus or minus the card on either side, and so I went to the next card, which was a book with death in the synopsis. Let's see here, The Night Circus. Oh, where are you? Is a book featuring romance because it was the lovers. Theo of Golden worked for, because I read over 50% in June is what I understood, and there was some confusion because I wanted to use this for friendship because the friendship does work a lot with her healing journey. It's very prominent, so I wanted to use this, but when I asked, because we started it the week previous, one of the hosts said no, it has to be started and finished in the same week. And then Deja from Deja's Book World, who is one of the people putting on Tarot Readathon along with Noelle Sunday, said no, as long as you finish it within the week. So this one I had already logged, and I didn't feel like going back and trying to log the friendship one. So, and from what I understood, as long as you read 50% of the book in June, like even if you started previous, as long as you read over 50%, you could count it for things. And so in that case, since Final Target got messed up, I did do Theo of Golden because friendship's very prominent in there. So I did do that for the weekly challenge at least, even though it wasn't for tarot. This one was for Knight of Cups, which was a book for the character goes through emotional turmoil, and obviously being insulted, she did. Dead Voices was for the Hermit, which is set in a remote location, so that worked for that. And then I told you the Night Circus. Operation Bounce House was for Nine of Wands, which is a book with survival elements. Obviously, they're trying not to be off and their planet taken over, so that one works for that. So Death in the Synopsis, Small Favors will work for the cover for this weekly challenge. And then Big Girl Blitz works for, I got Wheel of Fortune, which was either a mood read. It was in the second position, so I could go plus or minus. So it works as a mood read, and then it also works for the next card up, which is Justice, which is a BIPOC, queer, or disabled author. And so, yeah, Danielle Allen is a person of color, so that works for that. And then I'm hoping those are the 5. I want to finish up the 2 this week and then read the other 3 books for sure. But I would also like to get to The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This one is for, where are you? 4 of Coins, which is a book with rich people. No, that's not that one. That's different. The Sun, sorry. So it was in the number 3 position, and it was for The Sun, a fun or joyful book. Double points if it's a 3-word title because it is in the 3rd position. So The Princess Bride, 3-word title. I love this movie. I think it's fun and joyful. I've been wanting this book for a while, but I didn't want to buy it. And so I've been keeping my eye out. I finally found it. And I've been wanting to read it since I picked it up. And so since I wanted the double points for the 3-word title, I added this in. So I would like to get to this one this week as well. But that one, if it gets pushed off to next week, it's fine. And then that will leave me 3 books, 2 more for Tarot Readathon and just 1 for my TBR game to read in that last week. So yeah, I think so total I'm hoping to get to start 4 books and finish 2 of these books. So, but the Matt Dinniman one, since I'm reading it with my husband, that one might spill over to next week. But this is what I'm hoping to read this week. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But like I said, the Matt Dinniman book, we're just slowly reading together. I should finish the Night Circus no problem. And then hopefully I can read these other books. So we'll just have to kind of see how it goes down before I drop them everywhere. So yeah, I actually forgot to tell you about another book I read because I did not read it physically. I listened to Gone Before Goodbye by Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben. And again, I listened to this because my Libby hold came in. So it didn't work for any of the tarot pulls, but it did work for the weekly challenge because it does feature a friendship, and I really enjoyed that one. So Reese Witherspoon is the main narrator, but they do have narrators for a bunch of different narrators for the different characters, and I liked it was one of those ones where it goes back and forth. So even though it's Reese Witherspoon narrating when she's talking to somebody, that narrator will jump in, and so it's a back and forth like an actual conversation. Really love that. I ended up giving it 5 stars, and I did order it from Pango. It hasn't arrived yet. But I really enjoyed that one. And so we're following this woman and her husband and their friend had were like went to do like army medics and went to like refugees camps and such. But they started like a organization to do that, to go into like refugee camps and provide medical care and such. And then something happens, and then she gets hired to do like a facial reconstruction surgery on somebody, and it kind of all spirals from there. And I just really loved it. I did not see the ending coming. I loved Pork Chop, who is her husband's father, so her father-in-law. I really liked him as a character. He was one of my favorites. Reese Witherspoon is very dramatic at times in her reading of the story, which sometimes worked, sometimes it was a little bit too much, but I really just had a great time listening to that. And so I forgot to mention it because I didn't have it physically in front of me. So I did end up reading 5 books this week and then starting the other 2, which is pretty good. But, well, 2 of them were already halfway done. So I finished 2, read 3 in full, and then started 2 more. But yeah, overall a very great week. But I just forgot to mention that because it wasn't in my line of sight. But I do have a copy coming. Like I said, I ordered it from Pingo, so hopefully that will arrive this week. But I did really enjoy that one, so I just wanted to mention it. That's kind of where we're at. I'm definitely planning on knitting some more. I've really been enjoying that. And rewatching Heartland. I love that show. And I haven't watched season 19 yet, so I really want to rewatch all these and get caught up so I can watch season 19. But that's where we're at. I would love to know if you've read any of these books, if you're interested in any of these books now that I've talked about them, or a book you're currently reading. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If you just want to let me know you're here and you're helping to support the channel by watching, you can always leave a rabbit or any type of animal emoji, maybe a bee for small favors. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.